Welcome to Generous Impact. My name is Amanda Brummett, and my co host today is Brett Brummett. We are joined by Kara Hanaoka, Executive Director of Good Work Austin. In this episode, you will hear how Kara and her team are working to strengthen Austin through fair work practices, community partnerships, workforce development, and support systems that both uplift workers and small businesses. Kara shares what makes this work so important and how Good Work Austin is helping build a healthier, more equitable local economy. Well, Kara, thank you so much for being here with us today. I would love it if you could start by just sharing who you are personally and professionally.
I'm Kara Hanoka. I'm the executive director of a local nonprofit in Austin called Good Work Austin. How I came to be here at Good Work Austin, I've been working in the social impact space for the last 15 years in Austin. I'm originally from Ohio, but Texas, recruited me in my 20s. And so been living in Austin. My background's both in the hospitality industry. So growing up, I worked in restaurants and then kind of the first part of my career and then moved to nonprofits. So kind of had that hospitality and nonprofit focus. And a little bit about me personally, I'm a new mom. I have a 4-month-old. And yeah, so just kind of navigating living in Austin as a new mom and also working in the nonprofit but hospitality space.
Cool. I'm really curious just because social impact space, like, how do you define that? I mean, that's a broad spectrum. So, like, what drew you originally into that line of work?
Yeah. So great question. So social impact, I feel like it's kind of more broad than nonprofit. So I think it can be like B Corp, for profit. So anybody kind of wanting to make the community a better place. I try not to like think of it just as, oh, it has to be like a 501(c)(3 nonprofit. And I've especially found that with good work, with working with our, very much for profit business members. So that's kind of how I define that space. And what drew me to that is, growing up, my parents were like very involved in our community. So I feel like that value kind of is now throughout my life, volunteering and getting involved in different community initiatives. And then being a food service worker, understanding how hard that industry works, how little they're paid, but also what creativity and passion is in that industry. So that's kind of what drew me to this specific cause. But yeah, I think always just kind of being a part of a family that was very like community driven.
So, you've had a background in food service when you say hospitality, specifically food service, I take it then.
Yeah.
Nice. And then, getting into working with Good Works Austin, itself, were there certain aspects of their mission that was like, oh, this is the stuff that I would really love to do?
Yeah, so something that I experienced just working in the service industry here in Austin, low wages or like instability of wages. There's a lot of like harassment in the industry. There's a lot of like addiction issues, all of those things that make it a really kind of tough place to work as well. And so finding out about Good Work Austin, a few years ago now, made me like, oh, I wish this was available when I was working at a restaurant in Austin. And so funny enough, they did not overlap, so there was nothing like that when I was working at a restaurant. But yeah, I think me and my coworkers, there's 5 of us at Good Work Austin, we've all worked in the hospitality industry in some way, and so I think we all just wish this was available when we were at that point in our career. That's kind of what fuels our passion for this work.
Most definitely. It's crazy some of the stories that I hear coming out of the food service industry. Yeah, it's insane. Well, let's get into Good Work, Austin. What you do, who you serve. I was just recently introduced to the concept last year and just blown away that you exist. And I love everything you do. So tell us about it.
Yeah. So we've been around for a little over 6 years, and we ultimately exist to support our food workers. Austin has 65,000 food workers. It's the lowest paid occupational group in the city. It's the third biggest occupational group. So, a lot of people that are keeping our city fed, keeping our city running, bringing in tourism, contributing to our sales tax, all of those things that make our city such a great place, not only economically, but also culturally. We're known as this amazing city for food. We really want to support those workers. So we're working for better jobs and fair treatment for food workers. So things like living wages, benefits, all of those things that kind of make a happy, healthy worker. And we do that in a few ways. One is workforce development, and the other is advocacy. And we have 3 main programs. Our community kitchen, so that's our program where we help restaurants feed the community. So we reimburse restaurants for making meals for different shelters here around Austin. We also have our culinary workforce training program, so we're finding people with really significant barriers to employment, and we're training them to work in the service industry. So at a local cafe or one of our coffee shops, we have in our member network. And then finally, our healthy workplaces, which is kind of what we're most known for, which is we're going in and training restaurant owners just to create those healthy practices. Most restaurants don't have human resources like you would in an office setting. And so, really making sure we can go into those restaurants, support them, help them offer things like healthcare. We're piloting a new pilot with Central Health to provide healthcare to food workers. So, just some really exciting things that this industry just wasn't set up to have. A lot of people think that these jobs are like a transitional job in your life. You get this job while you're like in school. But for many people, this is what they want their career to be, and they want it to be sustainable. And so we're really just trying to change that system.
Yeah, that's really cool from all of that spot. I'm really curious, are there any specific stories that like stick out as far as the impact you've made? I mean, not like broad numbers, but like some kind of anecdotal one, like this was a really cool example of that or the other example.
Yeah, so kind of thinking back a few years, and it's funny because this comes up actually today with a meeting of our restaurant owners. I mean, COVID, while I think we're all like, I never want to think about that again, that was such a turning point for the food and beverage industry. I mean, it had such a lasting impact. And so I still hear from restaurant owners today about how Good Work Austin really just kept our service industry alive at that point. It was, connecting them and sharing resources and getting the city to hire restaurants to make meals for the community during that time. And so that's how that community kitchen program started to keep restaurants actually open. And so I think that work still continues today. Obviously, the issues we're facing are a little bit different, but it's still that connection, that community. And so I love when I hear restaurant owners kind of come up to us and be like, "Well, we wouldn't be in business. Like our business wouldn't even exist today if it wasn't for Good Work Austin." And we also see that on a worker level. So like our culinary workforce training program, we have people who are experiencing homelessness or experiencing, some type of vulnerable state of their life. And so they're now in a healthy career and they're working. And so just hearing those stories from our program, that's kind of why we do the work.
Do you ever hear like non-industry feedback? Obviously, Man and I see it because we've learned about you guys and attended some of the community things, but other business owners surrounding, because I know several of our other friends, you know, or businesses that serve a predominant high amount of food workers. And so Good Work Austin is very important to them, which is how we actually really found out about you guys. So is that an anomaly that the non-hospitality industry knows?
I don't know. That's a great question. I think that we are still every day, I think we're still like more people are finding out about us, especially through our member businesses. So last year was the first year we actually developed a membership model. We had always worked with hundreds of businesses. So we have about, I think, 86 members right now. And so I think that we're still growing and more people are hearing about us. And it's really interesting the way people come into our community because that's ultimately what we're trying to build is community because food brings people together. Food, breaks down barriers and starts conversations and all of the things that we want our community to connect on. It can be done through food. And so, yeah, it's really interesting how people hear about us, but it's in all different ways.
Well,
Right, I think it just means you have cool friends that are doing good stuff.
for sure.
I
Well,
hope.
and also it means that you and I, our lives pretty much revolve around food because that's one of the main decisions we have every day, which is, I don't want to cook where we're going. And then the other one is which like who's on the Good Works Austin list we haven't been to yet.
I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah, 2 parameters, preferably on Good Work Austin and preferably within walking distance, because then I'm burning some calories and I feel less
Great.
guilty about eating out.
Hey, there's several places you can walk to in your area, so great.
Yeah, most definitely. Although we do drive too. We get in the car and drive too. We just like food. Okay, so Kara, let's shift a little bit and talk more about the organization. How have you built a culture to support equitable workplaces and sustainable small businesses?
I think that really starts in building our own internal culture, which it's interesting from being from nonprofits, how similar challenges sometimes like smaller nonprofits and smaller restaurants. I mean, they're
Oh, yeah.
both small businesses. And so really thinking about, you know, it's hard for small businesses to provide healthcare and benefits and all of those things. Well, it's also hard for small nonprofits to do those same things. And so it's interesting that lessons learned and internally can also help our network externally. And so really just thinking through how can we apply the lessons and the values that we're holding externally, internally as well. And so we're really lucky to have so many business owners advise us and, kind of be a part of our network. We have a leadership council that about 12 business owners that are integrated in and help give us an advisory capacity. And so just really ensuring that internally our culture and what we're trying to build is kind of broader than just our 5 staff, but really like about the larger community.
Yeah. Do you find, like, when you're working on things at a board level and even community level that you have to circle back to that and go, "Okay, wait a minute. Does this align with what we would expect our members to do?"
Yeah, and I mean, I think the really great thing is our staff is really good at calling anything out, and so having that, like, open so we teach about communication in workplaces through our healthy workplaces trainings, and so, like, do we have healthy communication? Do we have ability to, like, be like, "That doesn't seem like something that's in alignment," or, when we're going out for funding or starting a new program, how do we make sure that we're in alignment with our values? So we both teach it, but then also, yes, like, integrate those lessons as well.
Thinking about those values that you're doing internally to go, I mean, it's, as you mentioned, new organization overall, if we're talking about like grand scheme of time, even though you've been around a bit. But how do you take those values and figure out how you're going to build that to something that outlives both like your tenure there and then Good Work Austin in the community? Like, how does this stuff multiply and work without you guys?
Yes, I think about that a lot since, I will it has to be bigger than even me, bigger than the organization, and so when we think about our impact strategy, we kind of work at 3 levels, which is our directly for our workers, with business owners, and then at kind of a community systems level, and so where I see that outlasting the longest, I mean, yes, of course, our work with workers, they'll continue to go on and spread, all the healthy things that they learned through us. But really, it's that business owner and then systems level. So when we're working with businesses, ensuring are they changing their internal policies? Are they to really changing the way they work? Are they starting to offer higher wages, changing their wage models? And so ensuring that if that GM leaves or maybe that owner switches out, we're able to keep those practices. And then I think more importantly, the systems level of what type of policies can we change? And so we work really closely with the city of Austin and then also the county on, this healthcare pilot that we're doing. How can we ensure that more people can sign up for healthcare in Austin and, ongoing, and then working with the city on things like rebates for businesses that provide healthcare or living wages or any of these healthy workplace policies. So we talk to city council multiple times a month about different things that we can hopefully make it easier for small businesses to do good work.
And how prevalent right now is the conversation with the membership around like transportation in the town for their workers and nighttime transportation? Because I've heard that come up a few times.
Yeah,
It seems to be like a
transportation,
long skill.
it's a huge barrier, especially with, as y'all may have noticed, all the construction projects going on. One group we've been meeting with is Movability Austin. And so they're actually a nonprofit that is supporting local businesses around all the things that are happening in the city. But I mean, it's a huge barrier. So we're definitely speaking to local officials about that, thinking about, how can we do like ride shares or ride pools and all of those things. And so Movability's been a great partner. I will say there's 3 kind of other issues that always come up, which is childcare, lack of accessibility around childcare, healthcare, and then immigration are kind of 3 other issues as well.
Unless there are affordable housing in there, because I don't know how
Sure.
people can afford to work at these restaurants, and they either have to live close, not
Yeah.
affordable, or get there from really far away.
Yeah, so I would say because we serve, unlike a lot of nonprofits where it's a cause rather than a population, because we serve a population of people, as you can imagine, all of the issues that affect somebody who is potentially, more vulnerable in the city, making lower wages, things like that, are going to affect our community. So ultimately, we kind of have to decide which ones we want to focus on. And I think healthcare last year was like our big focus because ultimately you cannot show up for work if you're not healthy.
Yeah. If it's too early and you're not allowed to talk about it, totally understand. But if you are, can you share a little bit more about what you're doing with Central Health?
Yeah, yeah, I'm so excited. So, over the summer last year, we had a lot of business owners who deeply care about their employees advocate for Central Health to fund something similar to what HAM does, which is the Health Alliance for Musicians. That organization has been doing this work for a decade, providing health insurance for musicians in partnership with Central Health, which is our county-led healthcare system. And so we did some advocacy over the summer. We really explained what the issue was, which is we just have this unique industry that has razor thin margins, and it's not that business owners don't want to provide healthcare, it's just right now it's just not set up to be able to afford to do that, especially with the cost. And so Central Health decided to fund a pilot this year to provide health care through Sendero, a $0 deductible plan. So essentially free. I'm saying that in quotations for those of those of you listening. Free healthcare to 25 food workers, and really take the lessons learned from this first year's pilot and how can that be scaled because we know there's a huge need. 65,000 food workers in Austin, a good amount of them, do not have health insurance, and so how can we really target solutions for a group that's either underinsured or not insured at all in Austin?
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then in itself is huge, but what's next? What else you got cooking?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so we're really excited about our healthcare work this year and trying to scale that. We have a culinary workforce training program. It's one of the best I think in the country. I think what's really unique about our program is the people that are going through this program are getting to meet some of the best chefs in the country because Austin has such an amazing food scene. And so they're able to learn from those people, potentially get a job at their restaurants. And so we're actually expanding that program. So we'll go from 24 graduates to 36 this year, which is a pretty big jump. So we're actually adding a whole nother training class. We're going from two to three. So we're really excited about that. And I think just really strengthening our membership. So we have these amazing restaurants that we're able to do trainings with, that we're able to prepare meals with, and really growing that network. It's kind of crazy again, Brett, how people hear about us. So we've just had an influx of like a bunch of new people join. And so just really making sure that we're able to invite more people into this community, whether it be people that like to go out to eat or people that are business owners, and just have more community and space to come together and celebrate good food and good work.
So you mentioned a lot of other community organizations you work with and working on pilot programs because it takes a partnership to get anything going. But even outside of that, are there specific organizations that you do work with or even unrelated organizations that give you inspiration to one, fill your cup and keep going, but then two, like what are like the things they're doing we can learn from, or maybe we somewhere else we can duplicate this effort because the pathway's already been paved. Any of those stick out?
Yeah, so I will say I think where we get a lot of our inspiration from is our leadership committee, which they are those restaurant owners. I think just seeing things that they're even piloting and trying within their own business. I think what's really interesting about our model is it is a lot of peer learning. And so ultimately we have experts in the room of like, I tried this wage model and this worked. And, my, because it's a lot of like consumer education and all that. Like there's so many people that are involved in this experience of a restaurant. And so I think we've learned a lot from just our restaurant leaders and incredibly inspired by them. I think there are a lot of like people in the community that a lot of people look up to, but also nonprofits. So, we can't do this work without all of the nonprofits that help us recruit for our culinary workforce training program. So, we've had a really amazing partnership with the Other Ones Foundation this year. which is an amazing local nonprofit. That's now we have a partnership with them in Central Health around training people for our workforce, getting them healthcare, providing them food through the shelter that the Other Ones Foundation runs. And so really just thinking uniquely about we're all working towards the same goal in Austin, which is, we want happy, healthy people. And so just ensuring that we each kind of play our own specific role, and so we've had just amazing partners for our culinary training program that, we train them, we're able to provide resume writing and mock interviewing and all those things. But ultimately there's some more intense case management that most people need. And so partnering with those organizations who do that really well is just allowing them the person to graduate and succeed and kind of go on to that next chapter.
So awesome.
Yeah.
And just I'm like I get to draw the middle map of how it all goes because I live here, and I'm
Great.
so if you don't live here, just draw a big middle map and you'll be
Yeah.
right because it is
We're
not
all
as simple
very
as we believe.
interconnected. Austin is a
Mhm.
small, big city.
Yes, it
Yeah.
sure is. Well, what can someone do to help support Good Work Austin other than asking their restaurant owner friends if they know about you? Like, what are some other good ways for support?
Yeah, so my favorite way to tell people is to eat out. If you live here in Austin, obviously go to our website. You can find all of our members, interactive map. If you're outside of Austin, try to support local restaurants. That is the best way and the most delicious way to support. We also have events. So we do good work tours. So we go behind the scenes with local business owners and learn some type of skill. We just did a kimchi making class. We did a coffee cupping class. We did a holiday cocktail. Our next one will be Thai food. So look out for that. And so really just want to spotlight and show everyone the amazing work that's happening in Austin. We're just kind of raising it to for everyone to notice and see and celebrate. So definitely follow us at goodworkaustin.org on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. And then also you can go to our website and get more involved and also donate because local nonprofits can't do this work without people supporting them.
Yeah, and you guys generally are on Amplify Austin Day, I believe,
Yes.
as well, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So other ways to make it stretch further. So, well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for all you've put in investment, the community and the members and the Good Work Austin team. And we look forward to staying connected.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Generous Impact. Kara showed us what it looks like when a community chooses to support its workers and its small businesses with intention and care. To learn more or to get involved, you can find them at goodworkaustin.org.